In a sport like golf, it is not very common that you hear the same name echo around two completely different stars and both having the same scandalous events. But then, in life, we see the unlikely happen. When you hear the name David Ledbetter as a golf fan, it is hard not to think of Michelle Wie and Lydia Ko. These sportswomen were two golden girls who surprised the golfing world before going on to have a succession of setbacks and performance dips subsequently. Was it the nature of professional sports? Like the good after some years become less good? Or was it the fact that both had a form of partnership with one of golf's most popular teachers, the reasons for their slumps? This is not just a love story of a coach and his students. It is one that questions identity, that defines pressure, the effects of change, and maybe just how a fast change can ruin a bright future. David Ledbetter is golf instruction. His name echoes in the world of golf like royalty and has been accused of rebuilding swings and building champions. But what if that change comes at the cost of the naturalness of the talents he got to handle? For both Lydia Ko and Michelle Wie, the question is, one needs to ask if Ledbetter's coaching method, and sometimes his clunky approach, strangles the natural ability that made them exceptional in the first place. As we go on, we'll unravel the rise and shift in careers of Michelle Wie and Lydia Ko while exploring the controversial role David Ledbetter played in both of their careers, the lasting effect his coaching had, one that they haven't recovered from or not. One of the most renowned and famous golf instructors of this modern age is David Ledbetter, who has spent more than 4 decades as a golf coach. Ledbetter has taught some of the game's all-time greats and assisted a number of them in winning major championships and enjoying the prime years of their careers. Respected for his coaching methods and teaching innovative thinking, Ledbetter has additionally been a controversial figure in professional golf. His life has been pretty much defined by sensational success as by struggles that fueled controversy regarding the limits and price of ferocious coaching. Born in Worthing, England in 1952, Ledbetter first had a professional playing career, competing on the European and Southern African tours. His own playing career never quite made the heights of note, and he soon had to turn to teaching. It was during the 1980s that Ledbetter's fame as a teacher and coach started to truly soar, particularly with his work revolutionizing 6-time major champion Nick Faldo's swing. Faldo, as a mechanical golfer, has often credited rebuilding his swing from scratch to Ledbetter. This connection rejuvenated the career of Faldo. He later won 3 Open Championships and 3 Masters tournaments under Ledbetter's guidance. This success made Ledbetter one of the greatest coaches who could create champions. And then everyone seemed to want Ledbetter as their coach. Relying on his enhanced profile, Ledbetter constructed a global network of golf academies, the Ledbetter Golf Academy based in Florida, and it soon became the go-to name in high-level golf teaching. The academies were rigorously technical, often scientific in approach, and obsessed with biomechanics, video review, and swing theory. Ledbetter authored a series of best-selling teaching books and DVDs as well, spreading his methods to the masses. His client list expanded to include leading champions like Ernie Els, Greg Norman, and Nick Price, among others. He was the player's go-to guru for decades for anyone who needed to alter their swings and their careers. His detailed and systematic approach appealed to players who needed accuracy and consistency, but it wasn't long before things started to go down. Despite his success, Ledbetter has continually been accused, and particularly when his techniques did not yield expected results or appeared to cross a player's natural ability. His methodology is too mechanical and structured, critics argue, and more attuned to mechanics than feel and intuition. Perhaps the most controversial chapter in Ledbetter's career was his association with Michelle Wie, a golf prodigy with boundless ability. Wie's swing was redesigned by Ledbetter. Although she achieved some success, including her 2014 US Women's Open victory, there were numerous critics questioning whether Ledbetter's templated approach stifled her creativity and altered the natural energy that had driven her to fame. And that's not all. Ledbetter also came under fire in 2016 for his involvement with Lydia Ko, the New Zealand golf phenomenon who had become a world #1 at Ledbetter's tutelage. Lydia Ko had adopted swing changes and changed caddies a few times. However, although he won a major, she fell fast. Afterward, Ledbetter faulted Ko's parents for over-interfering in her subsequent decline. Some critics, though, implied that his subsequent teaching roles were to blame for her decline. Ko continued to quit on Ledbetter and suggested a desire to recall her instincts and play more naturally, comments that have been interpreted by some as being in code a rebuke of her old mentor. more. Ledbetter has never been afraid to defend his philosophy and record. He insists that golf is a progressive game and that even the best players must adjust swings and habits to remain at the top. He likes to point to the fact that his greatest successes, such as with Faldo and Els, included radical technique makeovers that only became effective with patience and time. To critics, Ledbetter has maintained that no coach is able to make a player change. The team and the player ultimately make the choice. Regarding Ko, he has clarified that it was his effort to shield her from external pressures, and that his advice was channeled through a complex network of advisors and family members. Of course, a coach like him won't believe that his way or method of tutoring could negatively affect these players. Despite controversies, Ledbetter's influence on golf teaching is currently shaking. He invented modern golf coaching, brought academic discipline to theories of the golf swing, and professionalized prepping of top golfers. He was among the first to use extensive video examination and biomechanics to dissect and rebuild golf swings, and his teaching philosophy has been pondered and emulated by coaches all over the globe. Ledbetter has also been an aggressive advocate for junior golf development. His academies have instructed tens of thousands of kids, some of whom have gone on to collegiate and pro careers. He continues to innovate, having recently advocated for a less stressed, feel-based way of playing the game, possibly responding to years of criticism that he is too stern. David Ledbetter's own career is a rich brocade of flying highs and learning lows. As a teacher, he has changed the careers of the legends and helped create contemporary golf instruction. Yet his approach has not worked for every player and has sometimes been described as likely doing more harm than good. His own legacy is complex, a combination of incontestable genius, innovation, and lessons learned from cautionary tales. Now, how did he ruin Lydia Ko's career? Lydia Ko's ascension in golf is the height of anyone's dreams. Born in Seoul, South Korea, and raised in New Zealand, Ko became a global sensation as a teenager. She was the youngest competitor in the history of professional golf, male or female, to become the world #1 first-ranked player. Much of her early professional success is intertwined with the instruction of swing coach David Ledbetter, one of the most well-known names in the sport. Yet the story of their relationship is one not only of triumph but also of controversy, with critics and fans divided as to whether the influence of Ledbetter helped or hindered the growth and possible skyrocketing of Ko's career. Before partnering with Ledbetter, Ko had already made waves in golf. Ko had already achieved more than most golfers dream about with her longtime coach Guy Wilson. At age 15, she was the youngest to win an LPGA Tour event, and at age 17, she had already won multiple professional events while being an amateur. Ko's swing was simple, efficient, and repeatable. It was this unbridled talent and unorthodox style that set her apart from many mechanized golfers. In 2013, Ko turned pro, and shortly afterwards, Wilson retired. Maybe it wasn't a good time, but anyway, this opened the door for David Ledbetter, a coach whose resume includes legends like Nick Faldo and Ernie Els, and even Michelle Wie. He seemed to have the results, so why not? For Ko, working with Ledbetter involved moving away from a familiar system where Wilson had developed and trained her into a more formal and potentially more commercialized coaching environment. The coming together of Ko and Ledbetter reaped dividends quite early. Between 2014 and 2016, Ko was phenomenally successful. She won several LPGA events, 2 majors, the Evian Championship in 2015 and the ANA Inspiration in 2016, and held the #1 ranking, one ranking for 85 weeks. Her poise, precision, and mental strength were profusely praised. Ledbetter changed her swing, physical condition, and mindset. He worked on a more technically sophisticated swing and introduced biomechanics into her training. Ko also changed caddies, clubs, and fitness regimes under his tutelage. For a while, the changes seemed to take her game to a new level. She was more potent off the tee, more flexible in shot making, and still had the amazing putting stroke. But for how long? By the second half of 2016, however, cracks began to appear. Ko's form turned inconsistent, and she was unable to recapture the type of golf that had seen her become women's golf's dominant player. She tried numerous caddy changes, equipment tweaks, and even experimented with different teachers while still under the overall guidance of Ledbetter. She had won only 1 tournament in the space of 3 years. That wasn't how Ko was built. Her ranking had dropped from #1 to #24 with no hope for a return to the top. Something was wrong. In December 2016, Ko ended her contract with Ledbetter Ledbetter, citing the need for a fresh start. Ledbetter publicly responded by criticizing Ko's parents as being overly controlling and involved in her professional decisions. He referred to the environment around Ko as unbelievable ignorance and criticized the frequent switching of her team, which he believed undermined her focus and confidence. "My advice would be look to take a break right now," Ledbetter told New Zealand's Radio Sport per Reuters at the time. "She doesn't need to play for the rest of the year. Just get her head together, relax, get away from the game, and rethink this whole thing." Okay, wow, her parents have a lot to answer for. A case of unbelievable ignorance, he said. They tell her when to go to bed, what to eat, what to wear, when to practice, and what to practice. And they expect her to win every tournament. They need to let her go, let her fly, let her leave the nest, so to speak, and find her own way. If she can do that, we could see Lydia back. On one hand, Ledbetter had undoubtedly been a presence during her most prosperous years as a pro. On the other, his influence also coincided with a period of growing instability and pressure. Ledbetter's coaching philosophy has consistently been described as rigorous and systematic. While that level of structure works for many athletes, some argue it suppressed the natural instincts of Ko. People criticized him for overcoaching her, for messing with a swing that had already won on the global level. The impression formed that Ko, under Ledbetter, got too mechanical, too analytical, and too far away from the free-flowing game that initially made her a gem, a natural light that was shining with no systematic structure. That was what Ledbetter ruined. Ko herself has never publicly criticized Ledbetter, but has acknowledged the challenge of being amidst so many voices. In hindsight, many wonder if all the frequent changes made during her Ledbetter years were more commercially driven and pressure-induced than needed. Her brand definitely grew exponentially during those years, but her performance trailed once novelty of changes wore off. "Thank you to the haters for making me stronger and push me to be the best version of myself. And thank you to each and every one that have supported me. Your love makes a bump feel like a smooth ride," was all she said in an Instagram post during that phase. Ledbetter, for his part, has persisted in denying his coaching was the cause of Ko's decline. He asserted that the incessant intrusion of her parents and the lack of stability in her team undermined any long-term plan he could have had. In interviews, he has publicly defended his record, reminding individuals of the major championships and top-ranking status Ko had while she was under his guidance. Following the separation with Ledbetter, Ko experienced a transitional period with catch-up success. She tried working with several other coaches, and it took a few years before she began to get back on track. In 2022, she experienced a resurgence, winning the CME Group Tour Championship and re-establishing herself as one of the world's top players. The comeback to form demonstrated her strength and reaffirmed the belief that coaching is significant, but the player remains the master of their destiny. Ko's revival demonstrated she could thrive outside the shadow of anyone coaching philosophy, including Ledbetter's. David Ledbetter's impact on Lydia Ko is simply controversial. He helped her reach heights unseen before, but his methods and the timing of it also coincided with her most difficult seasons of the game. The controversy created by their union remains one of the most controversial topics of modern women's golf. Ko's professional life with Ledbetter is a case study in how even the most well-meaning collaborations can have unforeseen consequences. For every trophy she captured under his tutelage, there was also a question mark about the cost of success and the burden of expectations. This wreck of a collaboration between a Ledbetter and a female golf player didn't end with Lydia Ko. Michelle Wie, another golf prodigy, had a taste of her own under the coaching of David Ledbetter. First, let's take a journey on the life of Michelle Wie. Did she really need his coaching, or was it a decision that wasn't properly thought of? Michelle Wie burst onto the golf scene as a teenage prodigy, a giant in stature and metaphorically in women's golf. She was referred from a young age as the game's future, competing in PGA Tour events and captivating the world. While she's had many instructors throughout her career, perhaps the most influential and most controversial was David Ledbetter. As with Lydia Ko, Ledbetter's involvement in Wie's life is a tale of promise and danger, breakthroughs and breakdowns. His influence on her game was substantial, but also a lightning rod for criticism that his style did not ultimately suit Wie's unique style and promise. Michelle Wei became a pro just short of her 16th birthday back in 2005, signing multi-million-dollar endorsement deals and being paraded as a potential game changer for women's golf. Even before turning pro, she was already the youngest player to qualify for an LPGA Tour event at 12 and competing against men on the PGA Tour. Her swing, athleticism, and fearlessness made her a one-of-a-kind talent, yet expectations were huge. Wei's team, led by her parents, was forceful and intimately engaged in every aspect of her development. Nothing less than superstardom was anticipated. This pressure cooker environment would characterize each phase of her career, including her eventual signing of David Leadbetter as her coach. Michelle Wie began working with David Leadbetter around 2007, a period of physical growth and technical transition. She had been plagued by injury and inconsistent form, and thus there was a shift of focus towards swing mechanics and discipline. Leadbetter reshaped her swing to make it more compact and controlled. His goal was to ensure her longevity in the game and lessen her chances of injury. She also altered her grip, stance, and tempo under his guidance. Occasionally, those changes yielded stability, and she recorded some good finishes and competed more consistently on the LPGA Tour. Despite some progress, the results under Leadbetter were mixed. Wie won her first and only major, the US Women's Open, in 2014. By then, she had changed between several coaching influences. Her period with Leadbetter was consistently questioned by commentators who felt his methodical style clashed with her natural athleticism. Critics contended that Wie's intuitive game, which as a teenager had dazzled fans, had been straitjacketed by overcoaching. Leadbetter himself pointed to the influence of Wie's parents, her father in particular, on her career. In interviews, he suggested that they were overly controlling and that this limited her autonomy and formed an unstable support network. He ultimately described Wie's circumstances as one of the most difficult he had ever had to deal with, blaming a great deal of her inconsistency on external pressures that were beyond his control. The criticisms were not one-sided. Some argued that Leadbetter's interventions could have stifled Wie's creativity and passion for the sport. The swing adjustments were so frequent that commentators questioned whether she was ever truly allowed to develop into her own person as a golfer. Throughout her career, Michelle Wie battled different series of injuries from the wrist to her hand and her back. All these affected her ability to train and compete at the highest level. Some of these were blamed on technical adjustments made during her time with Leadbetter, which sought to reduce strain but perhaps didn't account for her personal biomechanics. These physical issues were equaled by a stark downturn in confidence and mental well-being. Wie was often visibly frustrated on the course for everyone to witness, and her passion for the game lessened during some stages. Although it's not fair to pinpoint an entire coach-player relationship as the only villain, the cumulative impact of constant swing experimentation, high expectations, and injury management took its toll. David Leadbetter's time in Wie's life remains controversial. He undoubtedly provided technical guidance and stability during moments of uncertainty. However, his philosophy and methodology were not universally accepted as being ideal for Wie's talent. To some, Leadbetter's impact was an inevitable process of learning and evolving. To others, it was a detour from what would have made Michelle Wie great in the first place. As Leadbetter tried to mold Wie into a more technically proficient player, some of the magic that captivated the golf world at age 12 was lost in translation. Would both women have been better off without their coaching experience from David Leadbetter? What do you think? Like, subscribe, and leave a comment.